Hello, my friends. Welcome back to my channel. It's me, your astrologer, Maria Di Simone. And in this video, we are going to do a Uranus in Gemini preview. That's right, Uranus, the great awakener of the zodiac, the planet that will get you out of a coma, that will snap you out of it, that's going to say, hey, wake up, stop being asleep at the wheel. That planet is changing signs for us for a brief few weeks in 2025. And we're all going to get a taste, a whisper of what's to come in 2026 when Uranus enters Gemini full time. And so in this video, I am going to offer you some video horoscopes, a little bit of insight for each sign, so you can start to think about how this Uranus and Gemini energy is going to work out for you more so next year when it really gets comfortable in its new sign. But Uranus will enter Gemini between July 7th and November 8th of this year. And it will reach up to 1 degree, 27 minutes of Gemini before retrograding on September 6th. So this is certainly enough time for us to get that whisper, or in the case of Uranus, it might be a tornado. Who knows? It really depends on what it's doing in your horoscope. So if that sounds interesting to you, stick around before I get started on talking to you more about Uranus and Gemini, what you can expect and what you may expect for your sun sign and rising sign. I wanted to remind you that registration is currently open for 2 classes that I will be teaching this July. Remember, guys, at the Insightful Astrology School, all of the classes are taught by me. I am your only instructor. The classes are personalized using your charts in all of the homework assignments and in the lesson plans. And the beginners class is a foundational class that is open starting July 5th, I believe it is, on Saturday at 11 a.m. And I also have my most advanced class open for registration right now. That is also going to start in July on Sundays. And this is my solar arc direction predictive astrology masterclass. So let's talk about the foundational class first. Even if you think you know a little bit about astrology, or you think you know a lot about astrology, it's always a great idea to strengthen that foundation. And this class really gives you a solid understanding of the basic structure of a horoscope, the planets, the signs, the houses, the angles of a birth chart, the elements and the modes, the nodes of the moon. We talk about fate and free will. I start to help you learn how to think astrologically for yourself and get comfortable with all of the archetypes in beginner's level astrology. So this class is recorded. If you can't attend live, don't worry. You can have access to the recordings. I also have a brand new student portal now on my newly launched website, which is so interactive and offers you such great, easy access to all of the handouts. You can submit your homework assignments through the portal. You can reach your recordings. Of course, I am personally available by email to all of my students. And the early bird registration rate on this class ends June 18th. It will save you $55 off tuition. Go to insightfulastrology.com. Make sure you claim your spot. It is the only beginner's class I'll be teaching for the rest of this year. I will not teach another beginner's class until sometime in 2026. Now, the Solar Arc Predictive Astrology Masterclass, you've got to be more advanced for that class. If you already understand predictive astrology in terms of how to work with transits, how to work with secondary progressions, and you want to learn solar arc theory, this class is for you. We spend the first half of the class unpacking solar arc theory. I teach you how to work with it. I teach you how to understand it fully and really see the magic that is solar arcs. I love solar arcs. And then the remaining class is me teaching you my specific personalized way that I work with all of my clients. And I call this my perfect trifecta of predictive analysis, which is transits, secondary progressions, and solar arc directions. And I teach you how to work with all of these systems together. I teach you how to organize and judge your measurements. No other astrology school offers this type of instruction for predictive astrology. And you will learn how to do this for yourself. You will learn how to be able to think astrologically for yourself to come up with some meaningful predictive insights for yourself or for your clients. And so this class is also personalized, and early bird registration is available right now. So go to insightfulastrology.com and claim your spot there if you are an advanced student. Okay, now let's get into Uranus in Gemini. And I am going to talk about this more. This is only my first video on Uranus and Gemini that I've put out here. I'm going to have a lot more information coming up for you connected to Uranus and Gemini. This video is going to be very specific, though, to, making it personal. What does it mean for you? Not so much the collective, it's what is in it for you. So Uranus has been in the sign of Taurus since about 2019. And Uranus is, for the first time since 2019, going to briefly leave Taurus, like I said, from July 7th until November 8th of 2025, and enter Gemini. And then Uranus goes back into Taurus, giving what I like to call, from my first astrology teacher taught me this phrase, last licks. I love it, last licks. So Uranus will give its last licks in the sign of Taurus and in your Taurus house from the fall of this year until early next year. And then on April 26th of 2026, Uranus leaves Taurus forever and enters Gemini full time and remains in Gemini until we get to May 22nd of 2033. Wow. I can't even believe that I'm talking about the 2030s. That's crazy, right? But yeah, 2033 is how long Uranus will be in Gemini for. And, this is about average. Uranus will spend about 7-ish years in each sign, and it takes about 84 years to go around the entire zodiac, which means unless you guys watching this are around 84 years old or older, you have never in your lifetime experienced Uranus in Gemini. So this is new energy for most of us. And it is going to enter a part of your chart that you have never experienced having the planet Uranus transit through before. And this is super exciting. Now, the other thing that I'll mention about Uranus going into Gemini is that it is quite a favorable energy this time around. The outer planets are all in very harmonious conversation with each other for the next couple of years. So I'm talking about Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. So with Uranus and Gemini, it will actually in 2026 be making trines to Pluto and Aquarius. That's something I will talk about in my 2026 special year ahead forecasts. So I will leave that alone, and I'll also mention it in other Uranus and Gemini videos that I talk about. But it will also be making sextile to both Saturn in Aries and Neptune in Aries. So these connections between the outer planets are all supremely harmonious for the next couple of years. And that means that Uranus is going to be free in general to do the positive Uranian things in our life, to give us the positive manifestation of this energy rather than the shadow expression. Now, quick caveat to what I just said. I am not looking at your personal birth chart. So if you are personally going to experience Uranus squares or oppositions by transit, when Uranus is in Gemini connected to your personal planets, or an angle, then of course you might experience some more of the disruptive tendencies that Uranus can bring. But in general, for all of us, the general tone of Uranus going into Gemini is going to be quite refreshing, quite exciting. Think about Taurus. Taurus is a weighty, heavy energy. And Uranus in Taurus was an uncomfortable type of a placement, certainly for Taurus to experience, because Taurus is a fixed sign that wants stability and is very rigid and, likes to keep things as they are. And that is antithetical to Uranus. Uranus is about breaking free, breakthroughs, liberation. It is a completely revolutionary energy, and it doesn't really care so much about traditional ways of doing things. And in Taurus, that was a little uncomfortable. Now Uranus is going into Gemini. Gemini is a mutable sign. All of a sudden, Uranus is free to go with the flow. Uranus is free to pivot. Uranus likes to pivot. That's a great keyword that I want you to remember for the planet Uranus, is that wherever Uranus is going to be touring in your chart for the next 7 years, you will be required to pivot, to go with the flow. And Uranus is going to be so much more comfortable there in Gemini, allowing it to do what it does quite naturally. And it is a very cerebral sign. It is an air sign. It is a curious, open sign. So, just the feel of it. Think about this. Allow yourself to just feel that energy. It is more comfortable, certainly, for Uranus. The air and the fire signs are going to thrive under this Uranus and Gemini energy for sure. But even the rest of you guys, it's going to be experienced as, okay, I can do Uranian things a little bit easier, a little bit easier. I can really tune into that energy without this feeling of, oh, it's a mismatch. It's no longer a mismatch now that it's in Gemini. Now, when I was at NORWAC, which is a big astrology conference here in the United States, one of the many lectures that I attended, this was like a comfort lecture for me because, I grew up astrologically learning astrology and how to be an astrologer here in New York. I was on the board of directors for the NCGR on Long Island for many, many years, versus the vice president, then as the president. And during that time in the early 2000s through, I think it was 2021, we always had the good fortune of getting the best speakers to come to our meetings because of where we're located. And one of the most esteemed astrologers, Anne Orderly, lived in New York full time at that time period. And every year she would come to our chapter and do a lecture. So I got to sit in an Anne Orderly live lecture and just soak her up every year. And she and I, are just, that we have that New York connection for sure. She now spends her time between Florida and New York. You can Google her, find out more about her. She's got podcasts. She's a wonderful astrologer. Anyway, she did a lecture at NORWAC on Uranus in Gemini. And I said, you know what? I need to go get me some Anne. I need my comfort food astrology. So this was a comfort lecture for me just to be in her presence again. And I'm so glad I attended this lecture because it helped me look at Uranus and Gemini in a little bit of a different way. And so this is actually gold, and it's from Anne Orderly herself. So I'm giving her full credit. I haven't heard any other astrologer mention this particular part of looking at Uranus and Gemini, but I do want you to think about this. Now that Uranus is going to be going into Gemini, and suggests that we start to pay more attention to our Mercury retrograde cycles because Mercury becomes the ruler of Uranus now. Gemini is ruled by Mercury. And so Uranus in Gemini is going to be answering to whatever Mercury is doing. And Mercury changes signs pretty quick, right? Not only that, but the Mercury retrograde cycles could add some important information to our Uranus and Gemini experience. So this is something I am going to start observing as Uranus enters Gemini, and I will report back what I notice. I want you guys to do the same thing. This is uncharted territory. Keep that in mind because Uranus, again, has not been in Gemini for 84 years. So this is going to be interesting. And sure enough, when Uranus first gets into Gemini this summer, we have a Mercury retrograde period right away in the sign of Leo. And so no sooner does Uranus go into Gemini, we got Mercury going retrograde. So we're going to get this pretty quick as Uranus just starts going into Gemini. And I think that is a fascinating nugget of astrology for us to look at. So there will be a lot more of these roller coaster cycles and, pivots that are going to be happening for all of us. But again, that doesn't mean bad, doesn't mean negative. It just means, we are going to be very open to a lot more breakthroughs. So let's also talk about some of the, major keywords for Uranus. Uranus rules all invention. Uranus is originality. It's, it can be a little eccentric and offbeat, a little kooky. It is very exploratory, inquisitive, unconventional, spontaneous, rebellious. It is a very, it just goes its own way. This is the great awakener, so freedom is important. And the sciences, astrology, in the occult, even computers, humanitarian endeavors, anything new and unusual, sudden changes, in explosions, individualism, electricity. This is all Uranus energy. Uranus is known as the higher octave of Mercury. And that's another interesting thing to pay attention to with Uranus going into Gemini, because it's going to be, the planet is going to be placed in the sign that is the higher octave. I'm sorry, I said that backwards. Uranus is going to be in a sign that is ruled by Mercury, and the higher octave of Mercury is Uranus. So I think we're really going to see incredible movement in intellectual endeavors, certainly with technology and computers and how we learn, how we communicate, mental telepathy, maybe. It's going to be quite interesting. This is communication with beings that are not in the physical realm, too. Okay. So I want you to be aware of that. That is going to become very normalized over the 7 years that Uranus is in Gemini. So whether it is communicating with animals, with dead people, with aliens, with anything that is not of human form, that is a higher vibration intellectually, perhaps, that's going to be normalized, I believe strongly, by the end of this transit, especially knowing that Uranus is going to trine Pluto in the next couple of years in Aquarius. That is just like, boom, it's on fire. And that trine is definitely going to be quite a positive one. So Mercury, let's talk about some keywords for Mercury. Mercury is all about being, adaptable and curious. It's communication. It is very talkative. It needs variety. It is all about connecting and exchanging ideas and flexibility. Uranus and Gemini. Gemini can also be very fickle and sometimes a little, gossipy or unfocused or inconsistent. And so there is a lot of connection to documentation and paperwork and, like newspapers and magazines and the written word, all of that. And Mercury, Gemini is ruled by Mercury. Mercury is the, natural significator of travel. And I do think that there are going to be some really interesting advances, not just in travel, probably space travel, but also with the world of astrology. Because the ancient ruler of astrology and astrologers was actually Mercury, and the modern ruler is Uranus. So now we have this relationship here. Okay, so put all that together, some thoughts. Now we're going to get to those horoscopes. For Aries rising. And remember, if you're new to my channel, if you're new to my videos, I always say focus on the rising sign primarily, because that is going to be the closest to being mathematically correct that I could see without me being your astrologer and looking at your birth chart. And then you're going to add the thematic relevance of your sun sign forecast. Blend the two together. You'll get a good idea of what Uranus is likely to bring you over the next 7 years. So for Aries, when Uranus goes into Gemini, we are talking about your third house of communication. Your brain is going to be on fire, and you are going to find this transit to be quite positive. It is, again, air and fire, harmonious. You are going to benefit very, very strongly from Uranus going into Gemini, into your third house. You are likely to do something you've never done before in communication matters, whether it's teaching, speaking, learning, writing, starting a YouTube channel, a blog, a podcast, your own, talk show, anything anything. You are going to be doing this and it's going to be very positive for you. There may also be some unusual, unexpected opportunities for a sibling, if you have any siblings, some modernization changes to your neighborhood, some upgrades that are really ahead of their time. That is possible. And the way that you move around, the way that you get around, how you are mobile, that is going to be shifting for you. But this is going to speed up your mind, Aries. This transit is a fast paced transit. So you want to remember that to do things consciously, to calm your mind when you need to. I don't believe that you're going to have any anxiety or any overactive mind in a negative way. But again, I'm not looking at your birth chart, so I can't see all of the details. So that's what Aries can expect. Now, Taurus, you're going to have Uranus going into your second house of earned income. Now, don't panic. We don't know what this is touching in your birth chart, okay? Uranus brings sudden reversals, but in this area of your chart, it can also bring sudden windfalls. It doesn't have to be that all of a sudden Uranus goes into your second house and you lose your job or you lose a source of income. No. We don't know until we look at your personal birth chart to see what that Uranus is attaching to. I'll be honest, if Uranus is going into your second house, squaring your Venus, let's say, or squaring your ruler of your second house or opposing the ruler of your second house, then yes, the sudden reversals might be harder. But we're not looking at that. This is a general forecast. And I do have to say that I believe in general for the majority of Taurus, this is going to be a breathtakingly positive transit because Uranus going into your second house of earned income is going to simultaneously make that trine to Pluto, which is in your career sector. So the next couple of years especially should be incredible, sudden, wild gains for you in finances related to how you make money in your business or in your career path. The more revolutionary you can be, the more money you're going to make. Lean into Uranus ruled things. Lean into using technology to your advantage, the sciences, astrology, anything ahead of its time. So you're not, it's beyond just trying to stay relevant in your industry. You've got to be like, you know what? I'm going to go in this direction. No one else has done it before. What the hell? I know it's going to work. And Taurus, it will work. Okay. So that's what I'm seeing for you. And Gemini, you guys, you're it, okay? Your whole life is changing. And your whole life is changing in the most magnificent, exciting, positive way. The first thing that you'll notice as Uranus enters your sign is your physical body is likely to change in some capacity, especially if it is connecting directly to your ascendant, because the ascendant is where the soul enters the body, the physical body opens up. And so with Uranus in your sign, you might decide to radically change your appearance in some way. You will decide that you want to come across in a way that maybe you haven't in a while or ever before, actually. And for you, it's going to feel exhilarating. Other people might be a little shocked, might need a moment to get used to whatever it is that you're delivering now, what you're putting out there. But as far as you're concerned, you're finally feeling alive in a way that you have not felt alive ever. And this is one of the most liberating, freeing transits to experience. Your relationship dynamics are also going to change. You might be initiating relationship connections that are much less clingy, much less about attachment, and are more about mutual growth and acceptance for who you each are individually. And that is likely to happen over the next several years. Uranus on the ascendant or connected to your sun sign is also this personal revolution. You are going to feel caffeinated. You're going to feel like you've got electricity running through your veins nonstop, and it will prompt you to do things that are much more, if not adventurous, just you're going to be open to things that you never thought you'd be open to before. So it will be quite an exciting shift in your life. Now, Cancer, Uranus is going into your hidden 12th house. This is the quieter part of your chart, but it is going to bring you radical advancements in your spirituality. you are going to be able to access unknown parts of your psyche, like instant downloads. Expect those instant downloads to start to become the norm in your life. You also need to overcome or let go of that fear of being a little weird, being a little out there, and not. You have to realize that you don't want to put that part of you in the closet. You might be tempted to do that, but try not to do that. Don't disown who you are. Uranus going into your 12th house might give you this blind spot where you're a little out of touch at first with what makes you strange, what makes you unusual. Sit with it. Okay. Talk to your therapist about this, journal about this. Make sure you get very comfortable with all of the parts of you and embrace those downloads that you're going to get because they're coming at you strong. And this is, really also unexpected spiritual growth, but also divine protection. Now, Leo, Uranus is finally going to leave your career sector. You guys have been having so many career ups and downs, and it has been crazy to say the least. I don't know any Leo who between 2019 and now is in the same career path, has not experienced a big breakdown in career or big breakthrough in career. It has really been a crazy time for Leos in that area. Well, this summer, especially as Uranus dips out of your 10th house for a little while and goes into your 11th house, you're going to start to breathe a lot easier with career energy, and you're going to start to realize that stability in that area of your life is around the corner. Where you're going to focus more now is sudden growth in your social networking and your greatest hopes and wishes. Uranus in your 11th house in the sign of Gemini is so compatible to your energy, Leo. You are going to eat up this transit. I anticipate that you are going to be meeting progressive, unusual people who genuinely want to network with you, want to connect with you, want to help facilitate your hopes, wishes, and dreams. This is a wonderful time to make advances in technology, in online connections, your relationships with other people on the internet, through social media, through platforms. You'll have major growth. You could go viral very easily, Leo. I know you love hearing that. There's just so much here that is going to be breathtakingly exciting for you when Uranus goes into Gemini. I'm super excited to see you through this transit. You might become more active in a humanitarian endeavor with Uranus in your 11th house as well. That might become more important to you. Now for Virgo, Uranus is going into your 10th house. This is going to be a little bit of an incompatible energy for Virgo. So I know I'm very excited when I talk to everybody else, and I'm not looking at your birth charts specifically. So this might be ameliorated slightly, Virgo, if you have more supportive placements with Uranus in Gemini. But in general, Uranus in Gemini is going to be square, making a hard aspect to Virgo energy. So that means you are going to be going through some massive, uncomfortable career changes and transitions. Now, here's what's interesting, though. The twist for you with career is that since Uranus is going into Gemini, you're going to have two career paths. There is a dual career path that's opening up for you. And I believe that if you lean into that, if you lean into this new energy of it doesn't have to be this or this, maybe I can do both. That's your sweet spot. If there's anybody who can do two career paths at the same time, it's going to be you, Virgo. And this is going to unfold. So you don't have to disown a career path completely. You can have two things going on at the same time. You can multitask, you can juggle your professional life. You're about to get so open and interested in other areas professionally. You'll be bored if you stick with the same thing. So that energy of boredom is what you're going to likely feel over the summer as Uranus goes into your 10th house for that whisper. I expect that boredom to lead to massive changes for you in 2026 and beyond in career. But for the few months that Uranus touches your 10th house this summer, that if you're noticing the feeling of boredom or this feeling of being stuck in the mud, you feel like you're stuck in a rut in career, listen to that. Start to notice what areas excite you professionally. And yes, consciously integrate Uranus into your career so that you can manage this transit with much greater success and ease. So, again, that means technology, the latest advancements in your profession, in your field, implementing the sciences, something inventive. If you invent something, I mean, you might patent it during this time and really take it far. And of course, astrology. We're going to have a lot of new Virgo astrologers coming into the scene over the next 7 years, I do predict. Libra. Libra, 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 and Gemini astrologers, by the way. So the Taurus astrologers, we've had our moment while Uranus was in Taurus. Okay, I am a Taurus. We've had an amazing run. Now we're handing the baton to Gemini astrologers and Virgo astrologers, I believe. Libra, Libra. Uranus is going into your ninth house, and you are going to have massive changes in your educational pursuits. I do believe this is going to be quite positive for you. There's going to be sudden jumps, a sudden license, credentialization, opportunities for advancement in your education, in your academic pursuits. And using technology, doing things online, going to school online, maybe remotely, is going to work for you very well. This is also a time where you're getting the travel bug, Libra, and I want you to scratch that itch. It is your time to travel internationally, to have experiences that you have not had. You're looking for growth. You're looking for that magic carpet ride, for this whole new world to open up for you. It is going to be absolutely spectacular if you use this energy in the correct way. Remember, Gemini is an air sign. You are an air sign. We've got a lot of positive energy here that can come out through the ninth house for you. And I want you to use this cosmic growth spurt to your advantage, for your highest good. You will also be exploring alternative belief systems, religions, philosophies, divination, and you might also be studying astrology or some other metaphysical science in a more serious way during this time period. You might also publish a book. Broadcasting becomes a big deal with Uranus in the ninth house. So spreading your message, you are someone else who could go viral, doing whatever it is that you want to talk about and share with the world. Scorpio, we're talking about your eighth house, and this is going to be some sudden changes in eighth house money. It could go in either direction. I really can't tell you positive or negative for sure without looking at your birth chart, Scorpio. So I'm going to keep it very general for you here and tell you that when Uranus goes into the eighth house, you can experience a sudden reversal in a financial area that is connected to your investments, to an inheritance, to an insurance matter, to any kind of debt, credit, loan, mortgage situation. But you may also experience that sudden growth spurt if your chart is connecting beautifully to this energy. This is one of those situations where I'm very divided. Scorpio and Gemini in astrology and traditional astrology, these two signs, they don't see each other. They just don't see each other. So you must look at what's going on in the specific birth chart. So pay attention this summer, Scorpio, and notice, well, all of a sudden did a new passive income stream opportunity open up for me? Am I doing well with my investments? Have I done well? Am I doing well with retirement planning? Is my partner's income jumping? Then you're getting the good Uranus stuff. But if you notice that things are starting to fall apart a little, or you're finding out unexpected things like, oh, maybe you're getting audited, or maybe you're not keeping up with your credit card bills and things are snowballing, you're going to want to evaluate. You're going to really want to handle this as much as you can. Don't ignore whatever whispers are happening in your financial world with this Uranus eighth house transit over the summer. Because if you ignore this over the summer, Scorpio, then in 2026, when this is a full-time thing, it's going to become more difficult to handle for you. So Sagittarius, seventh house, partnership. Yes, we are talking about sudden marriage, sudden divorce, sudden business alliances, sudden business breakups. more clients suddenly or sporadic clients. And it's all of the above, okay? This is going to be 7 years. Some of you will be getting married and divorced in the span of 7 years. Some of you will be marrying the love of your life and staying with the love of your life and finding that, wow, I feel more connected and alive with this partnership than on my own. And the thing is, you're going to really succeed in relationships when your partner is someone you're going to grow with. Uranus in the seventh house, it's not about attachment, it's not about clingy, it is about uh, a relationship that gives a lot of breathing room. And in order for that relationship to thrive, it cannot be full of traditional rules. That's not going to work. You're going to have to reinvent your relationship in order for it to work. It's going to be you and your partner and what you guys decide the new rules are going to be in your relationship. So it doesn't have to be something like an open marriage. It doesn't have to be something like you live in separate residences. It doesn't have to be that you decide not to get married, but to just be partners. It could be any of that. It could be none of that. You're making the rules now, and this is going to be what works for you and your partner. Just know that, again, it's about honoring each other's need for breathing room, for space. I need my space while I'm in a relationship. That's Uranus in the seventh house. If you can negotiate that with a partner, you've got it all figured out, and it'll be a really liberating, affirming transit for you. Capricorn, sixth house. This is another one. It could go either way. If you find over the summer that you're being alerted to some health concerns, Capricorn, pay attention to it. Don't ignore it. Do not try to sweep it under the rug. You will actually benefit very well with Uranus in the sixth house to being open to alternative treatments, experimental treatments, to blending Eastern and Western medicine. That is really common when Uranus is going through the sixth house. Uranus in the sixth house might not even be about your health. So don't panic and don't think that I am saying you're going to have a health issue. I'm not your personal astrologer. I'm not looking at all the details. The sixth house is also work, people who work for you, people you work with, your routine. You are going to feel bored with your routine. You're not going to want that traditional 9 to 5 lifestyle. You're going to want flexibility with your schedule. You're going to want to break out of monotony. You're also going to see a little bit more inconsistency when it comes to the people who work for you or work with you. So maybe it's going to be harder to get a nanny or a housekeeper or a landscaper. You know, these are some examples. A personal assistant. You might need to have more than one person in place. And I expect that for you. This is Gemini after all. So you might be going through people a little bit more often during this transit because either they're being inconsistent or you decide that they're not the right fit. So just have the backup plans and be flexible with all sixth house matters, and you'll be fine. Aquarius, this is going to be your fifth house. Aquarius, guess what? This is a baby making transit for you. Sudden pregnancy, sudden opportunity for children. And remember, Uranus is going to trine Pluto in your sign. So this is good. This is like, whoa. It could be great for fertility issues. It could be very healing. It could be bringing sudden, radical, creative projects and developments into your life. And it most certainly can be about romance. This is a love transit. This is a sudden love transit. This is an exciting love transit for so many of you. So if you are single, Aquarius, I think that's changing very quickly for you, and you're going to have a lot of fun. You've got options. Uranus and Gemini, you may be juggling 2 people or more. Who knows? Have fun. This is your dating and sex and pleasure house. So you're going to make the most of it. Now, finally, Pisces, you're going to have Uranus going into your 4th house, home, family, real estate, parents. Again, this is a square aspect. So for you guys, this might be a little tricky. It depends on the degree of your Pisces rising and your Pisces sun sign. If it's the first, let's say 4 to 5 degrees, then initially you'll experience this as something stressful or disruptive, like a sudden change in your family environment, a sudden relocation, perhaps a sudden change with one of your parents. So it could be a little jarring, a little unsettling, but it doesn't have to be bad because there could be something positive that's making it good at the same time. Remember, maybe this Uranus is squaring your ascendant if you're an early degree Pisces rising, but it's also trining your Venus, let's say, and maybe you're getting married and moving, and that's what this is. But it's a big disruptive transit because your whole foundation, your foundational life is being unsettled and shaken up a little, and things are changing there. So you have to honor it. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Pisces, and things will be very different. There may be more than one relocation over the next 7 years, but this summer, you're going to start to get a whisper and some news that, you know what, my home life is going to radically change by the spring of 2026. And I better be able to roll with those punches because they're coming. Okay, guys. So that's your general horoscope for Uranus and Gemini. Let me know in the comments what you start to experience as this transit gets underway. It is coming in hot. July 7th, 2025. And I want to hear from you. Make sure you like, share this video, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye.